Now going to question number 22. Here, the prompt is telling us this is a grammar question. And let's start reading for grammar. The second part of this text says, specifically, an extra leap second is blank. And it also says, time based on the planet's rotation lags a full 9/10 of a second behind time kept by precise atomic clocks. Now, the interesting thing here is that both of those could be independent clauses, because what you need in order to call something a clause is a subject and a verb. John jumped. And we do have that in both parts of the sentence. A leap second is added. Is one of our 9 special verbs. And in the second part, this time, based on the rotation, lags. So time is the subject and lags is the verb in that part. So if there were an answer choice that simply puts a semicolon between these two independent clauses, that would be correct. But there's no answer that does that. They all include the conjunction whenever. And whenever is a weak conjunction, something that turns an independent clause into a dependent clause, just like we have here. An independent clause would be John jumped. A dependent clause, on the other hand, would be something like since John jumped. Now we say weak conjunction to describe words like since, before, after, when, because, and that's because our strong conjunctions are our fanboys conjunctions that you should know. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. And so what we're looking at here is an independent clause followed by a dependent clause. Now, it's very important for you to know that an independent clause followed by a dependent clause gets no comma. If we said John jumped, that's independent. It's got a subject, John, and a verb, jumped, and it sounds like it finishes, John jumped. But this next part, because he wanted to see, that's a dependent clause. Because if we had just he wanted to see, that would be independent. But once we put because at the front, that's a weak conjunction. That's what makes it dependent. So if we have our independent followed by our dependent, we get no comma. If we have our dependent, because John wanted to see, followed by our independent, he jumped, dependent, independent gets the comma. So independent, dependent, no comma. Dependent, independent, yes, comma. Coming back here, we have our independent clause, an extra leap second is added, and our dependent, whenever time based on the rotation lags a full 9/10 of a second. Once again, if it started with the word time, it would have been independent, but starting with the word whenever, that makes it dependent. So independent, dependent, no comma, which is answer choice D. And in case you're wondering, the word specifically, that's our modifier. It clearly doesn't have a subject and a verb, so it's part of the sentence that you can kind of skip when you're reading, and for a moment at least, pretend it's not there. Once again, the answer here is D.